This project started 9 months ago when there was a big convening of artists, engineers, researchers, scientists, geophysicists, many different folks who all got together and started discussing this question: what does human habitation in space look like? And that's a question that's being asked by many people around the university, with the Interplanetary Initiative, with a lot of things that the School of Earth and Space Exploration is doing. And the crux of the question that we were thinking about was not just how do humans survive in space, but how do humans thrive in space? Which is an important question to ask because we pretty much have the technology to go to space and build these civilizations up in a place that's off Earth. But we haven't given a ton of questions to how is this small group of humans going to be able to get along in a small confined space for many years without killing each other or getting really grumpy or moving back to Earth. So we created this idea called Luna City, which is a settlement on the moon in the year 2175, is in Shackleton Crater in the south pole of the moon, and it's a ring settlement, which basically means there's like a collection of 200 or so neighborhoods that are all around the ring of Shackleton Crater. Shackleton as a spot was chosen at the recommendation of geophysicists and planetologists because there is water ice on the moon that people could harvest and drink, and also it has access to eternal sunlight, which would be able to provide constant solar power for all the energy. This project was built both from artists and scientists, with artists being able to imagine what the culture and what the society could look like, with researchers and engineers who could very accurately give us a sense of what the engineering would have to look like, of what the architecture would have to look like, based on actual models, not just our human imagination. So it's sort of like a hybrid between a skeleton of actual science and engineering laid on top of an artistic sense of what would a culture look like, what would a people look like, what sort of plants would be there, what sort of rituals would they do, and things like that. So the event itself is an immersive theatrical experience where audiences get to walk on stage and meet characters who are living in the year 2175, asking them questions, learning about their backstory, and in so doing, learning about the history that we collectively created about Luna City. It's funny because when you're creating a show that is about the future, you're actually creating a history, a new history. And in creating that history, we had to think, okay, what would the first community look like? How would it be built? What would some problems be that they would face? What would catastrophes be that would happen? Would they be independent, or would they be sort of connected to corporations or science research stations on Earth? In the event itself, you can walk in and meet all of these characters. Some of the characters you might meet are a chef that is preparing food at the Artemis Cafe in neighborhood 83. Or you could meet the engineer who is not only doing maintenance around the station, but also working on some illegal genetic experiments that you are not allowed to do while on Earth. You might meet the den mother of neighborhood 83 who shares a lot of wisdom and who is looking out for all of the young people. You might meet our youngest Luna City resident, Maya, who is 5 years old, who has been learning a moon rhyme to help keep people safe, because you have to teach the children about lunar safety. And we were asking the question, what would a better future look like? So we were asking the question, how do we use science fiction as an imaginative platform to step into what a better future could look like? How do you talk about problems better? How do you mourn death better? How do you think about love, or think about food, or think about distance better? What would it look like to move to a place that is off of Earth and take some of that history with us into an imaginary place where we can develop a greater sense of community, a greater sense of relationship, and a greater sense of meaning about what it means to be human, not just on Earth, but in the universe?